All right, welcome to another episode of Comic Book Squares. We're going to be talking to another artist today. My name is Shane.
I'm Paul.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. Let's get this show started.
All right, well, do me a favor, just kind of introduce yourself and give us the elevator pitch for your book.
Yep. I'm Chris Small. I'm a writer from the UK, and the book I'm sort of talking about is Brigantia, which is a kind of a pagan fantasy, little bit superhero-y story. The elevator pitch essentially is it's about a pagan goddess from ancient pre-Roman Britain, and she's thrust into the modern day. She's dropped into modern London, and cut off from the tribe that when she was worshipped by a tribe in pre-Roman times. And there's a lot of history in it as well. So we have done a bit of research. So there is actually a tribe that we think worshipped her. But anyway, she has to, in the modern time, there's far fewer people who believe in her. So she has to try and rebuild her power and find a way to get back to her own time, basically.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, the first issue that I read is just really, really fun. Great character building, and yeah, I like the power struggle that's going on between the two kind of main characters. So kudos to you. Really good stuff. Yeah. And I love it when you kind of bring historical stuff in and then mix it with modern day stuff, and having to do that research is very, very cool.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, the idea was sort of to do something that, because I love like folklore and British mythology, and I've never really seen anything like that in comics before. So I thought the idea was like sort of like a British Wonder Woman kind of character based on that kind of Wonder Woman, heroic gods and goddesses kind of thing, but making it about stuff that is more local to me, I guess, in a way. So there's a lot of like a lot of the locations are local to myself or to the artist on the comic. So it's set in London. The artist on the first issue lives in London, so she was kind of going around and sketching things and being like, right, so she can go here, nice. And then she'll go over here, and like it'll all map out and it'll make sense. So it's kind of locating it in a real place, I think, and then but then putting in all that fantasy stuff that's kind of fun and interesting.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you.
A couple of the other creators that we've spoken to, they've done the same thing. They've kind of used a historical event or some kind of historical benchmark and added their own creativity to it. So it's been awesome to hear that. And I really liked your story too. I guess the question I have, was this something that was kind of kicking around in your head for a while, or what we found is with some other creators, the pandemic kind of folks forced inside and said, you know what, I'm finally going to do what I want. I want to draw comics, or I want to write comics, or I want to get in the biz somehow. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, the first issue came out well before the pandemic. Actually, it was like 2016 or so. So it's been kind of a slow, because it's an indie series, so it's been quite a bit of a rocky road in terms of getting through it. But yeah, we're working on the third issue now. But yeah, it was very much. I think the original thing was there was an anthology that somebody was doing that was kind of British superheroes, and they kind of I saw the call out for it, and I thought, ooh, that's kind of an interesting. There's an idea there, maybe like a British Wonder Woman. Ended up not actually going through with the anthology and not submitting to it. But I sort of thought, let's take the idea and let's kind of develop it a bit. And that's where it sort of came from. But there was a good period of it kind of gestating. And then I met the artist for the first issue, and we knew each other in real life. Like we were friends through other friends, kind of in the real world. And I sort of said, I've got this idea. I think you'd be a perfect fit for it, and we kind of developed it together. And yeah, it's just sort of. And she's had to sort of step down after the first issue. She's had a kind of a very sort of mental health shit and a lot of stuff that's kind of forced her to take a step back from comics, really. It's a shame. But she was quite happy for me to carry it on with another artist. So yeah, it's been very much a passion project, you could say. You're kind of like putting all your time into going, I'm going to make this story, I'm going to make it as good as I can make it. So yeah.
Yeah, I really love the art.
Melissa Trender, she's a fantastic artist.
Yeah, she did a great job. It kind of reminded me of I don't know which industry or which comic publisher was doing it, but it was a book called Caligula.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't know.
obviously it's about the Roman Emperor Caligula, but this type of art, it kind of reminded me of that. And then there was another one a couple of years ago called Britannia,
Yeah.
and I forget which publisher that was, but this kind of followed in the same vein. It was really really awesome to see.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of with the design for the character. We kind of took a lot from like Britannia. I don't know if you know much about the idea of Britannia as like it's a weird thing on our 50p piece over in the UK.
Right.
There's a Britannia
Okay.
figure, so it's like a woman with a trident and a shield, and she's meant to personify kind of. It was like the British Empire. She was kind of personified,
Sure.
Britain as a naval seafaring power, which is obviously,
Okay.
we're not really that anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into all the problems with the British Empire. We don't have enough time for that. But yeah, it was.
Same here.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Right.
But we sort of took elements of like Britannia, that kind of like she has a spear and a globe of victory, which is sort of Britannia. There's elements of Minerva, a Roman goddess, as well, and there's
Yeah.
a particular statue that was found in I think it's near the north of England, near Scotland, that was from Roman times because what they would do is syncretize a local god or goddess. So they go, okay, so all the people here worship this particular deity. Let's just make them a Roman deity and kind of bring them in. And there's a statue of Brigantia, like someone done a statue of Brigantia, and we sort of looked at that and went, okay, this is the only statue we have of this goddess. We'll draw
Yeah.
inspiration from that for the design. So there's definitely a lot of that kind of research and stuff that's gone into it.
That's a lot. That's a lot of research.
cool.
I mean, there's some of the creators we spoke to. They really didn't get into the weeds like that. They didn't get a lot more granular on some of the characters that they were trying to flesh out. So it's
I
pretty
think
amazing
if
you were
you're-
able to do that.
I think if you're going to do something, especially when it's a pagan goddess, and especially when there are still people, pagans, who do actually worship this goddess, like today. So if you're going to do something like
Yeah.
that, you have to put the time in. And we
yeah.
actually, when we launched the first issue, Thought Bubble, which is a really cool convention in the UK, we were doing the first issue, and someone came running up to our table, me and Mel, and went, "Oh, I'm a pagan. Brigantia is the goddess that I worship, and this is absolutely spot on. Like this depiction of her is just spot on."
Yeah,
And we were like, "Wow, okay,
that's
so
cool.
that's really cool. Like it's not just this
Yeah.
is a cool character. This is
Sure.
your divinity basically." So you have to put the work in, I think,
Yeah.
in something like this, and not just go, "It'll be fine. No one cares." Like clearly people do.
You'd be surprised, right? It's like in movies. People are pointing out, they slow down everything, and they're trying to pick out all these little mistakes. And
Yeah.
comics are the same thing. Once you draw it, it's there forever,
Yeah.
and people can look through and they can sort of cherry pick. And so,
I
a
think
lot of credit to you for
Yeah, I think the authenticity
Yeah,
I think
credit.
comes through. Yeah, the authenticity is you
Yeah.
just have to try and make it authentic as to the best of your ability. I think
Absolutely.
that matters.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So, so how long have you been doing writing? And then I guess the follow up question to that is, what led to this particular piece?
So I started doing comics in 2011. It was a friend of mine in university who's actually he's a colorist now, and he's a colorist on. I'm going to give him a plug. The Eisner nominations have just come out, and I don't know if you looked at the Eisner noms, but in the limited series section there was like Tom King, Ram V. There's like all the usual suspects, and then there was a series.
Okay.
There's a series called Hocus Pocus, which is written by a friend, written and drawn by two friends of mine, and this is my friend Owen is the colorist on that series, so he's now an
Awesome.
Eisner nominated colorist. So go and vote.
Wow.
So vote for
Right.
Hocus Pocus if you
That's
want.
great.
UK small press represent. But in 2011, we were at university together, and he was putting together some anthologies, just little small press anthologies, and said, do you want to try writing a story for it? And I thought, well, I've loved comics for a while. I've never tried to write one, so I thought I'll give it a go. And they were just little short 4-page kind of sci-fi things, and that was sort of where I got my start, really. Just doing little short stories with a little twist, kind of like Future Shocks from 2000 AD,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with those, like a twist in the tail kind of thing. And that gave me the confidence to start doing my own anthologies. There's a guy he's a chap hop like a hip hop artist who does like Victorian style kind of. It's a very strange. It's hard to explain it, but he's really fun. Called Professor Elemental. And I got in touch with him and said, "You're basically a comic book character already. How do you know? Can we do some comics about you? Like it'll be a fun little anthology thing." And so that kind of went into writing and editing anthologies, and then I sort of took it from there and went, "Okay, I'm going to do my own series. You know, we'll do this." And Brigantia was sort of the thing that I was most passionate about. So I thought, let's make that, you know, a creator-owned series.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I was looking at your site, and you got a wide variety of content that you've created. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
it's pretty. Yeah, I mean, it's great stuff. Just from 2011. I mean, it's a relatively short period of time, and you've amassed a really great collection of work. So it's fantastic.
It's the good thing was because with the Professor Elemental stuff, because he's very good at talking to people and going, "Hey, do you want to do this thing for me?" And like get people on side, so I could kind of go, "Okay, well, we need artists for this thing," and so we have the cover for the most recent thing that we did together was for the last album that he released. We did kind of a tie-in comic for it, it's a very comic book thing. So it's like his nemesis, like his villain, and we did like a secret origin story for them. And he got the cover done by Pete Woods, who's done you know so much stuff like Marvel, all sorts. And he was like, "Oh yeah, got a cover by this guy," and I'm just like, "Pete Woods, are you serious?" So yeah, it's cool. It's been really cool being able to collaborate with people at that level, and I've been very lucky with being able to team up with a lot of very good artists, basically.
Yeah, very cool. That was kind of dovetails into the next question I had for you. As a writer, you know, how is your collaboration with your artist? Just how does that relationship work with people that you work with?
So it depends really. It's tricky because sometimes you're writing a story and you're kind of going, "Okay, I've got this idea for a story and I know what I want it to be like," and you're like, "I want to get this all down," and then I'll approach somebody and say, "Okay, here's my idea. It's pretty fully formed." I mean, like as an example, there's something that I'm not going to give you all the details about because we're pitching it at the moment, so it's secret. But yeah, it's hockey adjacent. We'll say that much. Nice. But that was one where I was like, I've got a really strongly formed idea for what the story is going to be. And I knew in my head the person that I wanted to draw it. I knew who I wanted to work with on it already because it's an artist that I know. So I sort of thought, well, I'll write the whole thing. I'll get it all down, and I'll get the shape of the story down, so I can say to him, "Here's the idea. Here's the story. Have a read of it and see if you like it." And obviously, I'm always like, if you have any thoughts, if you have any input, if there's anything I've done, if there's anything I've written that you don't think works, please tell me. You know, we'll mix it up. We'll change. We'll do it together. But I don't like kind of being prescriptive and saying, "This is the script, don't deviate from it," because that's not a healthy way of doing it. But yeah, sometimes a lot of the time it's you have the idea and you're like, "I need to write this down," and then you know we can help shape it. But recently, there's an artist I've worked with. There's an anthology that's coming out called Big Hype Comics Volume 2. I don't know if you know it. It's like a manga kind of anthology thing, run by Doug Wood. Who's done a bunch of stuff. But yeah, there's an artist that I've worked with for a little short story for that, and she kind of was saying, she was looking for somebody to collaborate with. So she's an artist. She was looking for a writer to sort of help her develop a story. So with that one, it was a lot more like she went, "Okay, here's my idea. Here's the world. Here's kind of the idea. Yeah. Can you help me flesh it out, basically?" And that was a really cool, different way of working, where it was like, it's not my idea, but it's a really cool concept that she had. So I went, well, how about if we do this with it? You know, these are the sort of themes we can introduce. So that was a lot more collaborative. It was still, in a sense, we kind of went, "Okay, here's the shape of the story. I'll go away and I'll write out a script, and then you can tell me what you think about it." Because I find it easier to work that way, just like me kind of bashing my brains down going, "Okay, here's a script. If it's terrible, we'll scrap it, but at least we've got something, to start with."
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, one thing.
Yeah, the collaboration is. Sorry, Shane,
No,
but the collaboration is something that we talk with a lot of the other creators about as well, and it seemed like the most successful, or I should say, at least the more successful, the ones that were able to gain some traction, had the same attitude and relationship that you did with your fellow creators. There was always a little bit of give and take. Nobody sort of planted their foot and said, it's this way or no way kind of a thing. And some got me thinking earlier when you were talking about the panels and the coloring and all that is I thought some of the panels that we saw were really cinematic. You had some large scale panels that you didn't do it wasn't box by box by box panel type thing. It really kind of exploded out of that. So really great stuff. Was that by design or was that collaboration, or how did that, visualize?
I sort of, I mean, I don't know if it's probably not, cool. It's not probably not like, okay, just say it, but like, I do think about things. I think about things in a cinematic way quite a lot, because like sidelines to doing comics, I love movies. I love watching movies. I love looking at the cinematography and looking at how things have been framed and just sort of going, okay, that's a really cool shot. What is that shot representing? What is it telling me? So I definitely think about things, not cinematically, but in the sense of I'll go, okay, how can you frame this in a way that's going to communicate the point you want? So there's definitely points where it's obviously give and take. There are occasions where where I'm like, right, this needs to look like this, because like there's a section from that picture we're talking about where it's kind of it holds a panel, like the same layout for like 3 pages or something, just three by three panels. Because I was like, I really want to communicate the sort of unease of you're still looking, it's like a horror movie. You're looking at the thing and you're going, something's going to change. When's it going to change? Why is it not changing yet?
Right.
I think you can communicate that in comics really well. So yeah, there definitely were some bits where I was like, this needs to be a big, dramatic, cinematic panel. But Mel also like got the script and basically went, right, I'm going to highlight bits in red that I think need to look differently. I can do this layout differently. I think, and so she definitely put her own ideas in, and she did the layouts and went, right, here's how it looks for me. And I was like, yeah, that's great. That looks perfect.
That's awesome.
So I don't want to take credit for the whole thing.
Well, I mean, comic books are a collaborative art form, from everybody from the colorist to, even the letterer. I noticed, some of the lettering work in this piece was really impressive, and normally that doesn't stand out in a lot of books. And I felt like, your letterist really kind of stepped up as well. So yeah, kudos to the whole team. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, one of my friends in comics a little while ago, I think he was talking about when we did the Brigantia 2 campaign. He tweeted about it, and he was saying like, it was a really nice thing for him to say. I don't necessarily agree with him, but it was a very nice piece of praise, which I'm going to tell you about anyway. And he said like he was saying that one of my greatest strengths was picking a team, like picking the right team for any particular book, and kind of going, right, these are the people that I want to help me make this story. Which I think it's a thing that people don't really think about. You think, you write it and you sort of, you just get an artist on and it doesn't really matter. And it's like, it does matter, because the look of it and the letterer, the colorist, everyone involved. Like the Black Rubric. Did you see? I don't know if that was in the folder that I sent you, but it's on the website.
I did see it on your website.
Yeah, like the black and white kind of black metal satanic thing. With that, I knew from the start, I knew the letterer that I wanted to work with was Hassan Otsmain Elhal, who is just a fantastic letterer. But I was like, I've seen a bunch of his work, and I went, I know he's going to be able to do the kind of the cool stuff with like the music and the way we want to kind of make it sound. Like obviously comics don't sound, but they do. You read them and they do sound in your head. So yeah, I knew he was the right person for that part of it.
Yeah, very cool.
We
go for it, Paul.
We talk about that quite a bit as well with some of the books that we review. We see, you can see the art as you're reading through. There's a theme, right? The writer is trying to get across a story. The artist is trying to visualize it, and if the artist has a style that maybe doesn't seem to fit that script, or that theme. It can pull you out of the story a little bit. Like you can't see, Scotty Young, one of the artists that's been working for Image and Marvel for a while, but started independently. He couldn't do your story. That kind of stuff wouldn't fit, right? I can't see Scotty Young doing Detective Comics.
Yeah, there's definitely there's artists who are fantastic, but they wouldn't really work for a kind of, if you want like an uplifting superhero kind of, that sort of thing. Yeah, you want the right artist for the right story. I think.
Right, has to be the right team.
100%. And I think that Yeah, and I think that works in other collaborative art forms. Whether that be music, in the right people that are playing instruments, to the people who are in the producing room. You wouldn't want Michael Bay directing The Color Purple. You know what I mean? So it's not,
Yeah.
it's just not going to fit right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So finding the right team, that's a real skill set to have.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm a musician as well, so like so I absolutely have experience with that. When you're in a band and you're kind of like, right, well, you're all kind of playing off each other, and it's about going, right, what will I play? What can I play right now that will best fit this song? Will best fit the vibe of this? What we're trying to achieve here. It's definitely a similar kind of creative muscle, but just music rather than comics.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I was watching some of your stuff on your site with your band. That's really cool that you had both skill sets. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been a musician longer than I've done comics. So I've been playing guitar since since I was about 15.
Awesome.
And I've been in bands for like 20 odd years at this point. And it is. I do definitely find that there are transferable skills. So I don't know. I'm not going to say recommend every comic book creator pick up an instrument and get in a band, because it's a whole separate thing that will take up your time and money. But
time and money.
But it is definitely like you're in a room together. Like the band I'm in now, we're working on new material. So it's kind of you stood around, you're going, right, somebody's come in with an idea. And they've gone, so this is the script, and then the other artists are kind of going, okay, well, we can do that, and then we can add this to it, and we can. And the end result will come out stronger because you're all contributing and you're all adding into the finished result. So it's absolutely a crossover, like a transferable skill.
Well, you're definitely showing you're stretching your creative muscles there. I'm 0 for 2. I used to like to draw, as Shane knows, when we were kids, and I drew for years and years and years, never caught on that way. But I'm also a failed drummer, so I do have drums in the basement. Miraculously, due to how loud they are, nobody wants to hear me play. So
I would say no one is a failed drummer. You just need to I've got a drum kit downstairs, and I don't play it very often. But you're not a failed drummer. You just need to pick it back up and just have a bash, and you'll have a good time.
I need to start wearing hearing protection because I can't hear what I'm playing anymore.
Yeah. Oh, my trick is it's an electronic kit, so I just have headphones in,
Oh,
play along to
nice.
something, and I'm just like, this is great. I'm playing it perfectly.
1, 2,
fine.
3, 4. 1 2, 3, 4.
Just
I'm
turn
nailing it. I'm
the
nailing
music
it.
right up and turn the drums right
There
down.
you go.
Yeah, this is great.
It sounds perfect. Yep.
That's the trick.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, the one thing I wanted to ask about was, as an indie comic producer, talk to me a little bit about how you get your material out there. Whether it's using social media or going to actual conventions or comic book shops. How did that work for you?
So it's primarily been Twitter is the main source of where I do my comic stuff. Spamming about Kickstarters and that sort of thing. Kickstarter obviously has been a big one. I'm trying not to think about the whole blockchain thing. We'll not get into that. But yeah, Kickstarter's been a big one for doing campaigns, because I think you can kind of lay it. It's like you're pitching it to people. You're saying, look, here's the idea. Here's what we want. Here's what you'll get from it. So those two, Twitter and Kickstarter, have been big things for me, making stuff and getting out there. Like the Black Rubric was very much I was like, this is a stupid idea. And I remember, you mentioned conventions. I love Thought Bubble. I go to Thought Bubble every year, and it's always a fantastic time. And I remember I went there the year before we sort of did the Black Rubric, and I was just chatting to friends. I was like, I've got this idea for a comic, right? And it's a black metal band that accidentally play a song that's too satanic. They're playing their satanic metal, and they're like, oh, we love Satan. And they just go a bit too far and open the gates of hell. And then they're like, this was a mistake. We should probably try and do something about this. And I was telling people at this convention, and they were cracking up and going, that's a great idea. We should do it. So I went, okay, why not? Yeah, we'll do it. And it was kind of just did a small campaign, but it absolutely, 300% funded or something like that. It went well over the goal. Yeah, it wasn't a huge goal. The goal was literally £666 because I was like, that's not going to cover any of the costs, but it has to be that. That's appropriate.
Marketing.
Yes.
And but it's. Yeah, exactly. But it was the kind of thing where if I hadn't done the Kickstarter, I wouldn't have been able to release that or make it or anything like that. So yeah, that's definitely a big one. And yeah, comic book convention. I don't go to too many, but I go to Thought Bubble every year because it's great to meet people. It's a great way to talk to people about your comic and kind of it's a lot easier to pitch something to somebody like over a table than it is online, because online you're like, here's a tweet, and they'll just kind of go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And we
Right.
all do it. Attention span online. I get it. You're like, there's a lot
Yes.
going on.
Yeah.
But it's easier if you can have a conversation with somebody and say, here's what it's about, and they can see how passionate you are about it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's definitely a good approach, I think.
Yeah, and I also think, like you said, meeting people in person, there's definitely something to be said for getting to know you as a human being and, hear your words and why you wanted to do this particular piece of art. And I hope that that's what, people get from a show like this, is to get to know you on an individual level, and then seek out more of your art and other things that you've done. So yeah, hopefully we can help in some small way.
Trust.
Do what we can. Do what we can.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, man, it's been absolutely great getting to meet you. I'm really glad that you were able to come on the show. We're going to put the links on the bottom so that everybody can find your work online. And, as new pieces come out, I definitely recommend, checking out this piece. It's really interesting. And like I said, I love the fact that you're taking historical stuff and adding onto it. I think that's really interesting and cool
Yeah,
stuff.
we've
man.
got the third issue is being worked on at the moment. It's almost done, and then I've finished writing the second half of the arc, and then I've got an artist lined up for that as well. So we're getting even more into it, even more myth, even more history. It's going to be great. I'm excited about what we've got coming.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Well, hopefully, we'll be able to have you come back on the show and talk about, more of the books as they come out.
Fingers crossed,
So, yeah. So thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. It was great getting a chance to hear you and hear about your
Thank
stuff.
you for having
So,
me.
Great to
thank
meet you,
Good to meet
Chris.
you guys.
Take care.
All right. Well, that was another great episode. Really just so fun getting to meet artists who are doing really interesting, innovative work. Please hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell for us so we can keep bringing you content like this. And we'll see you on the next one.